The movie opens with a shot of Philadelphia in 2024. The city is in ruins, an empty office building standing in silence while fires burn across the streets and distant screams echo through the devastation. The story then moves backward to 1988, where we get a glimpse into the lives of three ordinary people: a concert pianist, a bus driver, and a chef working in a diner. Each of them goes about their normal routine, completely unaware of what is about to happen. Suddenly, blood begins pouring from every opening on their faces. Within seconds, all three collapse and die at the same moment as a mysterious figure appears. A mysterious figure in a blue hoodie wanders through the city. Not far away, a police officer named Thomas wakes up and prepares a meal while his pregnant wife continues sleeping. On the news, reports describe a bus driver losing control of a vehicle and crashing into several oncoming cars, causing chaos. Thomas gives the food to his wife, says goodbye, and rushes out for his graveyard shift. Later, he meets his partner Maddox, and together they arrive at the scene where the bus driver collapsed and triggered the accident. The lead detective is Officer Holt, who turns out to be Thomas's brother-in-law. Thomas examines the dead bus driver and is horrified to see blood pouring from her face. Her brain appears melted, and the cause of death is ruled as hemorrhaging. He also notices 3 marks on her neck and suspects puncture wounds, but Holt dismisses them as a birthmark. Soon, they are informed that 2 more people died the same way moments earlier, both bearing 3 similar marks on the backs of their necks. Next, the officers examine the bodies of the pianist and the chef, who also seem to have died from hemorrhaging. Thomas shares his observations, but Holt orders him to stay out of the case, seeing it as a big opportunity for promotion. Later, Thomas and Maddox go to the hospital to meet the doctor who performed the autopsies and ask if anything important was found. The doctor reveals the neck marks are deep injections driven so far they likely reached the vertebrae, and the injected substance is an unstable isotope whose exact composition cannot be identified. Later, Thomas and Maddox stop for food when they get a call about a woman attacked on the neck with blunt force. She has the same 3 marks but is still alive and not bleeding. The officers rush to a nightclub and meet the attacked stripper. She explains she was struck on the neck with a metal tool by a black woman wearing a blue hoodie and says the woman's left hand was injured and covered in dried blood. Holt arrives and asks for details, and as she repeats everything, she suddenly collapses dead. Police then arrest several black women matching the description. However, the real killer remains free and is seen placing a strange device on a car before fleeing when a cop arrives. Soon after, Thomas and Maddox encounter the same woman while driving, and she runs, triggering a tense chase. They call for backup, and Holt orders the entire force to search for her. Their car nearly hits a truck, forcing them to continue on foot. They realize she is near the subway and split up to corner her. While searching, Thomas finds a strange device and keeps it. In the underground tunnels, Maddox finds the woman and demands surrender, but she overpowers him and breaks his leg before escaping. Hearing the commotion, Thomas rushes in and chases her until he corners her and orders her to raise her hands and turn around. In a shocking twist, she calls Thomas by name and congratulates him on his daughter, apologizing about his partner. Confused, Thomas tries to arrest her, but she easily overpowers him and handcuffs him to a bench, saying they will meet again. As she leaves, Thomas attacks her with the strange injection device, causing her to fall in front of an oncoming train and die. Thomas is horrified and soon learns his wife is in the hospital. An investigator tells him the suspect has no ID or fingerprints, only a mysterious key. Even stranger, a bullet is found in her wrist, matching Thomas's revolver, though he never fired it. A nurse interrupts, saying his wife is hemorrhaging, and he rushes to comfort her during labor as doctors fight to save her. Later, a nurse hands him a healthy baby, but he learns his wife did not survive. The story jumps to 1997, showing his daughter Amy, now 9. Amy makes breakfast, while the news reports protests demanding answers about the incident 9 years earlier. Many sympathize with the unidentified black woman and accuse the white officer of throwing her under the train. Now a detective, Thomas gives Amy a bracelet for her birthday. They visit his wife's grave, where he notices a snail and fresh flowers, leaving him puzzled. Soon, police inform him the killings identical to 9 years ago have started again. He rushes to the scene and meets Maddox, who now walks with a limp. Thomas asks if he left flowers at the grave, but Maddox denies it. They arrive at a university classroom where a professor lies dead with 3 puncture marks and blood streaming from his face. Holt, now a lieutenant, arrives, and security footage reveals a perpetrator who looks exactly like the woman from 9 years ago. Assuming it's a copycat, Thomas reviews old case files and finds the mysterious key, assigning his team to investigate. More deaths follow, causing public panic. Studying footage, Thomas notices the suspect's injured left hand, a detail never made public. Soon, an officer reveals the key belongs to a plane model made only in 1996. Confused, the detectives head to the only nearby airfield with that model. As they leave, physicist Dr. Naveen Rao approaches the case and links it to his research. He explains the killer appears during a supermoon every 9 years when a bridge forms connecting another place, but they dismiss his theory. At the airfield, Thomas meets the manager and shows the woman's photo. The manager denies seeing her but seems nervous, while the woman secretly hides nearby. Sensing tension, Thomas writes a message and learns someone else is present. As he reaches for his gun, the woman appears and holds him at gunpoint. She forces the manager to tie Thomas up while he secretly calls his partner. She demands plane keys, overpowers the manager when he grabs a hidden gun, and sirens approach. Panicking, she takes Thomas hostage as Maddox enters. She shoots him in the head, then realizes who he is. Distraught, Thomas is taken onto the plane, while Holt orders police not to fire. The woman tells Thomas to stop chasing her and claims she has a good reason. She says every 9 years she can return briefly when the moon sets, then throws him from the plane into the sea. Thomas reaches shore and finds plane wreckage but no sign of her. Holt and the team search, but Thomas insists she is from the future. The story jumps to 2006, where an older Thomas digs up Harold Nowak's grave and finds a puncture wound in the neck vertebrae. He resumes investigating and learns Dr. Naveen has been missing. Meeting Harold's widow, she learns Harold led a racial supremacy group called the Real American Movement. She gives Thomas Harold's files and mailing list. Studying them, Thomas discovers many victims are tied to Harold and extremism. He picks up Amy on her 18th birthday and learns she now lives with Holt because of his obsession. Meeting Holt, Thomas reveals connections between victims and insists the woman travels backward in time and will return today, asking for help finding Harold's ex-wife. Holt dismisses his theory and urges him to rebuild his life. Thomas pretends to apologize, steals Holt's badge, calls the station posing as him, and gets Heather Russell's address. Arriving, he finds a dead woman bleeding like previous victims. Suddenly, the killer appears, and Thomas shoots her left hand. She escapes on a motorcycle, and Thomas hijacks a truck to chase her into a sewer where she enters a time machine. As it fills with water, he vows we will meet again before she disappears. Emerging from the sewer, Thomas is arrested by Holt, who refuses to believe him. Dr. Naveen watches from afar. The story jumps to 2015, where Naveen tests an isotope device on pigs, killing them instantly. His assistant shows him footage of Thomas waiting on the beach for the killer's return. Thomas receives a voicemail from Amy saying her baby is due soon. Suddenly, Thomas wakes in a truck and learns Naveen kidnapped him, claiming he supports the killer and needs to hold him for 3 days. Thomas argues she kills innocents, but Naveen calls her a savior. Thomas escapes during a crash and runs to the beach. Elsewhere, the woman arrives with her time machine and emerges from the sewer, only to find Thomas waiting with a gun. She reveals her name is Raya and says Thomas once told her to take this job.
She shows him a bracelet identical to the one he gave Amy, and he realizes she is his granddaughter, whom he killed in 1988. He begs her to stop, but she says time travel is one way, and her mission always ends with her death. She asks him to care for Amy before leaving, and Thomas collapses in tears. The scene jumps to the future, where an elderly Naveen gives Raya the isotope device at Rao Technology. The opening attack is revealed to be caused by Harold's group, sparking a civil war. Raya's mission is to travel backward through time and kill specific people to stop a bomb in 2024. As her mission succeeds, the ruined Philadelphia from the beginning plays in reverse, showing the future corrected. Back in 2015, Thomas arrives at the hospital with flowers as Amy gives birth to Raya, and he finally finds peace, holding his granddaughter.